From a memory chip Tesla knew would fail in every single car they ever built, to a suspension that collapsed underneath a driver doing 120 miles per hour on the Autobahn, to a door handle so badly designed that people have burned to death in survivable crashes because nobody could figure out how to open it from the outside. These are the 5 parts that always break on a Tesla. Number 1. The Model S door handle. The door handle on a Tesla Model S does not work like a door handle on any other car. There is no physical lever or cable running from the handle to the latch. What Tesla gave you instead is a small motorized assembly that sits flush with the door when the car is parked, and pushes itself out automatically when you walk up with the key fob. Tesla called it elegant. I have spent 20 years in shops working on cars, and I cannot think of a single good engineering reason to do this to a door handle. Inside each handle assembly is a small cast metal gear with 2 ears on it that connect to the motor shaft. When those ears snap off, and they do snap off on all 4 doors, the motor keeps spinning and the handle just sits there. The door is locked from the outside. You can still get out from inside the car using the interior release, but from the outside, you are done unless you know exactly where the emergency cable is routed behind the door panel. I had a 2015 Model S come into the shop on a flatbed a couple of years back. The owner's wife had been standing in a grocery store parking lot for 20 minutes because the front door handle stopped working. He told me he thought she was probably exaggerating. She was not. Tesla's quote to replace the assembly was just under $800 per handle. Both front handles were on the way out. That was a $1,600 bill for 2 gears the size of a quarter. Tesla charges that much because they will not sell you the gear. They sell you the entire assembly. The actual broken part costs around $30 from an aftermarket supplier. Independent Tesla shops figured this out years ago and started machining their own replacement gears out of stainless steel because the factory cast version simply is not strong enough for daily use. If you want to fix this yourself, rebuild kits run around $175, and the job is manageable if you are comfortable removing a door panel. An independent shop will do both front handles for $300 to $400. The Tesla Service Center will charge you over $1,000. Now, if this were just an expensive inconvenience, it would still make the list, but the failure goes further than an annoying repair bill. When the door handle fails at the same time as a dead 12-volt battery, you cannot get into the car from the outside at all. And if you are inside a crashed Tesla and the power cuts, you cannot get out quickly without knowing exactly where the interior release is. Last Thanksgiving in Piedmont, California, bystanders spent close to 15 minutes trying to get passengers out of a burning Cybertruck after a crash. The Cybertruck has no exterior handles whatsoever, only electronic touch surfaces that require power to operate. 2 people died. One of them, according to the coroner report, survived the initial impact. She died from smoke inhalation while people outside were searching for a way to open the door. I personally think the retractable handle on the Model S is one of the worst design decisions Tesla has ever made. The Model 3 has a conventional door handle. It works perfectly. Nobody complains about it. The Model S got the motorized version because it looked impressive at the product reveal, and owners have been paying for that choice ever since. The door handle is a design problem. Number 2 is something I find harder to shake because it is not a design problem, it is a decision. Number 2, the MCU1 memory chip. Every Tesla Model S built before March of 2018, and every Model X built before that same date, has a media control unit that runs the center touchscreen, the backup camera, the climate system, the defogging controls, and the turn signal audio. Inside that unit is a small memory chip, 8 gigabytes, that costs around $30 to buy at retail. Tesla's operating system writes data to that chip constantly, things like log files and diagnostic records. According to engineers who have taken these units apart, Tesla rarely, if ever, actually downloads those files from the car. The chip can only handle so many write cycles before it burns out. When it fails, the screen goes black, the backup camera stops working, and you lose defogging control. The car does not warn you. One day the center screen just dies. What makes this different from a normal wear item is that Tesla already knew. Their own internal data showed the failure rate on certain production months approaching 30%, and they filed documents with federal highway safety regulators acknowledging that eventually every single one of those chips would fail. So instead of recalling the vehicles, they started selling owners a $2,500 infotainment upgrade. The main practical benefit of that upgrade was fixing the chip they already knew was burning out. Independent shops had been doing the same repair for $300 for years. It took a federal investigation and essentially a direct demand before Tesla moved. Their official position going in was that no defect existed. They folded, issued a recall covering 135,000 vehicles, and offered reimbursement to owners who had already paid out of pocket. Some of those owners had paid $5,000. The actual fix cost $300. If you have a Model S or Model X from before 2018, check your vehicle identification number against the recall database. That repair is still owed to you if it has not been done. This one hits older Model S and Model X owners the hardest. The next part is different. If you drive a Model 3 or a Model Y, this failure is most likely already working its way through your front suspension right now. Number 3. The front control arm bushings on the Model 3 and Model Y. The front suspension on both of these cars uses control arms that bolt to the subframe at mounting points lined with rubber bushings. Those bushings absorb road impact and keep the suspension geometry stable under load. On most cars, when a bushing wears out, you press the old one out and press a new one in. It is a cheap part and a quick job. Tesla bonds the bushings permanently into the arm during manufacturing. When the bushing fails, the entire arm has to be replaced with it. That turns a $30 rubber insert into a $200 control arm replacement plus labor. It is not a design accident. Bonded bushings are cheaper to assemble on a production line. Tesla made that trade-off. You pay for it when the car ages. They fail faster on a Tesla than on a comparable gas car because of two things. The battery pack makes these vehicles significantly heavier than they look, and the instant torque hits the bushings with full force from a dead stop every single time. A combustion engine builds into its power. A Tesla does not. Multiply that by thousands of stops, and the rubber wears down faster than the service manual expects. The lateral link bushings typically start tearing around 40,000 to 60,000 miles. First sign is vague, wandering steering at highway speed, then a clunk over bumps once the arm develops play. The front upper control arm ball joints go around the same time, and they let you know with a quacking sound when you turn at low speed. I have never fully gotten over a $50,000 car making a noise like a rubber duck. Tesla service centers have been replacing those upper control arms as goodwill repairs, charging only for the part and nothing for labor. That tells you everything about how well they know this is not normal wear. Get your front suspension inspected at 40,000 miles. Now, bushings wearing out early is annoying and expensive. What I am about to get into is a different level, because this is the one where the suspension does not just wear out gradually, it lets go. And when Tesla got enough complaints about it, they did not issue a recall. They made owners sign paperwork saying they could not talk about it. Number 4. The suspension forelink called Wampy wheels. I did not come up with that name. It came from a British mechanic named Keith Leach, who started posting photos of crashed Teslas he kept finding at junkyards and auction lots, all of them with the same collapsed front suspension. The name stuck because the community recognized immediately what he was describing. The suspension forelink is a front control arm component that connects the front steering knuckle to the subframe. When it fractures at the ball joint, the front corner of the car drops suddenly onto the road surface. At parking lot speed, you get an expensive repair and a very bad afternoon. At highway speed, you get a crash. In September of 2020, a Tesla Model S owner in Switzerland was traveling at 120 miles an hour on the Autobahn when his front suspension collapsed. The car dropped onto the road at speed. He survived. When Tesla inspected the vehicle, they told him he must have hit something on the road, but he was on a motorway, and there was nothing to drive over. That explanation, I want to be clear, is not something Tesla gave once to one owner. It is the explanation Tesla gave repeatedly to owner after owner across multiple countries over several years. You crashed the car, they said. You must have hit something. The roads in your area are just too rough. That was Tesla's answer every time, no matter who asked. In China, where the government eventually forced Tesla to recall 18,000 Model S and Model X vehicles for the same suspension failures, Tesla told regulators that their customers were simply too rough on their cars. 2 United States senators wrote to Tesla specifically about that response. I will leave it at that. Federal highway safety regulators investigated this for 4 years, covering over 100,000 Model S and Model X vehicles. No recall ever came. When they closed the file, they included a specific note saying the closure was not a finding that no defect exists. They ran out of leverage. That is not the same as Tesla being cleared. Something else worth knowing if you own a Model 3 or Model Y. Tesla sent emails to certain owners about lateral link fasteners that can loosen over time, but they never filed a public recall notice and never put anything on their website. A forum user posted the email. Hundreds of other owners replied saying they had received the same message, and that is how people found out about it. If you have a Model 3 or a Model Y from the 2019 to 2021 production run, ask a Tesla service center about that lateral link fastener. What I cannot get past is that by 2019, Tesla's own internal records showed the suspension for link was their biggest single warranty expense. They knew, but in China, where the complaints were loudest, they settled with owners directly and made them sign agreements preventing them from talking to regulators or the press. At least with the suspension for link, you know something is wrong when it happens. The last one on this list is worse in a specific way because the damage is happening inside the motor while the car feels and drives completely normally. By the time you notice anything, the repair bill is already heading toward $15,000. Number 5. The large drive unit rotor seal. This one mostly affects Model S and Model X vehicles built between 2012 and 2020. When it gets bad, the repair bill is $15,000 or more. The motor in those vehicles, which Tesla calls the large drive unit, is water-cooled. Coolant runs through the rotor shaft to manage heat inside the motor. Between the coolant passages and the rest of the motor internals is a rubber lip seal. When that seal wears out, coolant starts leaking into the motor. The problem is that the leak is entirely internal. There is no puddle under the car, no coolant smell, no dashboard warning. The coolant washes the lubricant out of the rotor bearings, and the first thing you notice is a high-pitched whine during acceleration. That whine is the sound of dry bearings. It is also your only warning that the seal has already failed and the damage is underway. I have talked to Tesla owners who drove for months after that sound started, either ignoring it or being told by the service center it was within normal range. By the time the car goes into the shop with power reduction warnings and high voltage isolation faults, the coolant has reached the inverter electronics, and at that point you are looking at a full drive unit replacement. Tesla service centers do not repair drive units. They swap the whole unit. Out of warranty, that bill runs between $5,000 and $15,000 depending on the model variant and whether you are getting a new or remanufactured unit. The replacement comes with a 1-year warranty, which is not a lot of confidence from a manufacturer putting a 5-figure part back into your car. Independent shops have been rebuilding these motors for years. One shop I know of has done close to 1,000 of them. According to the shops rebuilding these motors, coolant from a failed seal is behind nearly every LDU failure they work on. The fix is called a coolant delete, and it involves permanently blocking the coolant channel so fluid can no longer route through the rotor shaft at all. Basic coolant delete kits start around $40 to $50. Tesla released their own version of this same fix in late 2023, an updated large drive unit that permanently routes the coolant away from the rotor. That is Tesla quietly acknowledging a design flaw that has been costing owners money for over a decade. The way to check your drive unit before the seal fails completely is to remove the rotor speed sensor from the outside of the drive unit housing. If you find any coolant residue on or around that sensor, the internal seal is already leaking, and you need to get it addressed before the damage reaches the inverter. Do that check once a year if you own an older Model S or Model X. An independent shop can do it in under half an hour. If you picked up a used Model S with no service records, make the speed sensor check your first stop before you put another 10,000 miles on it. After 20 years working on cars, the thing that sticks with me about all of this is not that the parts fail. What I keep coming back to is how Tesla responded every time an owner walked into a service center or filed a complaint with a regulator. Find a good independent Tesla shop, keep an eye on these systems, and do not wait around for a service alert that may never come. If you are in the market for a used Tesla, or you know someone who is about to pull the trigger on one, I put together a used Tesla buying guide covering the 7 models that are actually better deals than buying brand new. The price differences are significant, and a few of those models are ones I almost never see come up in used Tesla conversations. That used Tesla buying guide is on this channel right now.